So the first brand pillar that we have is smartness. So when the people discover kind of like all the idea behind Match Tonic, that is represent the smartness. It's not just a beautiful bottle, it really solves a problem. So that brings out a different territory. Second aspect, the aspect of the sustainability. So when we decided kind of like recycled glass, then to peel off easily the label so you can then reuse the bottle into a different format and things like that, everything is very well designed. So we are innovating in the whole code. It's not just in one area, it's more three-dimensional, the whole impact of innovation of Match Tonic. So that is kind of like what represents for us kind of like the smartness in terms of core values. And then obviously another core value for us is the never ordinary aspect, no? So it's not an ordinary kind of like look and feel in terms of the color palette. I think like overall between the sustainability first, the smartness, and to be never ordinary and don't follow the patterns of the code of the category, we are really disrupting the whole code of the category.
So in this case, we didn't know that it was going to be that challenging, honestly speaking. So we've been just curious about, okay, why all the bottles were tall and rounded, but we didn't know kind of like the real technical challenges back in the time. And obviously to have kind of like A+ partner in order to do so, like ESTAL did in this case, was super useful, and probably without that support we couldn't make it happen. I think like to find ESTAL as kind of like as a partner to say like, okay, this is not going to be easy, but we really like the idea, the concept, and we really like projects that really think out of the box. That was kind of like, as I said, super useful and a very reliable partner in the technical side. And it was a lot of them, no? I think like, for instance, at the beginning, we didn't have kind of like this shape into the bottom, no? And if you cut kind of like transversally the match bottle, inside it's more rounded than it appears. So it was a lot of question marks that were open, and for that reason, I think like ESTAL and the design studio even did a even more remarkable job. Basically, as I just said, going step by step, having a lot of assumptions of what has been done in the industry and within this category in terms of the assumption of level of carbonatation, the assumption of the scheme of the filling line, and a lot of assumptions that some of them we discovered that they were valid, and still, even today, we still see areas of improvement, and that is, I think that is beautiful. For us, the concept of wine glass was kind of like a no-brainer from scratch. Like, as I said before, I think like in this industry of drinks, still we are in a lot of projects that they call themselves sustainable because they are using just the label on recycled bagasse from the sugarcane. Is that enough to call yourself a sustainable project? So for us, kind of like sustainability is a must. It's not kind of like even kind of like an asset of premiumness, So especially, and if you consider that you are born, we were born in 2024, when we launched into the market, you have to born sustainable. This is a non-negotiable side. And we really like kind of like that concept of, as you said, kind of like in your wine glass speech of like the beauty of the imperfection, like in these bottles, it's very clear the concept of the wine glass, no? Like here, probably you have like more recycled carbonated screens and another kind of glass, and here you have like more wine bottles, and for that, therefore, it's more green. So I think like as well, this is kind of like something beautiful because every batch is kind of like unique. Sometimes we are more green, less green, more crystal clear. This even looks kind of like almost like a flint, but this kind of like differential in the color range is something that we felt that it was very natural for a brand kind of like us. I think like the reaction has been quite amazing, no? Because if you think like for such a young brand like us, like we secure distribution in more than 30 countries, more than 5,000 doors in terms of retail. We are best selling mixer in Amazon Italy, for instance. So there is a lot of best practice so far, and we're really changing the code. We wanted to bring it more as a kind of like real disruption into the industry. And for me, to get that recognition, is that, okay, we were not that crazy and we were doing, we were shooting into the right territory. So in that sense, it helps, but it's kind of like a cherry on the top. I don't think it changed your life. I think like represents everything, no? Because represents kind of like the space saving, the sustainability, the design first, the smartness, that we are much more than a beautiful bottle, that we're bringing a solution to the industry, no matter what the channel is. And I really believe that it's a before and after.